With this video, I'm going to show how to sew a rectangular protective face mask out of cotton material. It's going to have elastics that go over the ears, and it will also have a nose bridge that will allow the person wearing the mask to crimp it so it will fit better over the nose. This mask will also have an opening that will allow you to place some extra filter material inside a pocket. A rectangular surgical mask may fit if the pocket measures at least 3.5 by 6 7/8 inches. You're going to need 3 7 by 9 inch pieces of material, 2 that will be used for the back of the mask, and 1 piece that will be used for the front. And we have cute little hedgehogs. For the nose bridge, I found pipe cleaners are easy to use, so I'm using a pipe cleaner that I've cut in half. It's about 7 inches length. But if you have it on hand, you can also use something as simple as fluoro wire cut into 7-inch lengths. So I just use a pair of pliers to bend in the end of the pipe cleaner like this so it won't poke through the material. Just turn in the little end, just like that. And lastly, you're just going to need 2 elastics. I've cut these about 6.5 inches. Another great tool to have on hand is an iron. It just makes marking the material very easy. Okay, so we're going to start by taking our lining material and placing it right sides together. Take our material and fold it over lengthwise. We're then going to hit it with our iron just a little bit, and it's going to create a nice crease down the center when we open it right there. That's going to make a great mark for where we're going to sew. For this next part, I did this step earlier off camera using dark thread so you could see what it would look like. What I'm going to do is use the fold line as a guide to sew a seam right down the middle of the fabric. I'll sew down the fold line, stopping a few inches in, backstitch, and lift the presser foot. Then I'll pull the fabric through about 3 inches and start to sew again, backstitch, and sew to the end. Now that that's sewn, when you open the fabric, you will see the area with no stitches actually form the 3-inch opening for the mask's pocket. So there is our really great opening. So now we have the back of our mask all ready. All right, so another option for the pocket opening is going to be folding it the short way and ironing it this way. In that case, you still make the 3-inch opening with the seam here and the seam here, but what it will do is it will make an opening like this. This opening's a little small, but it will make an opening like this so that a surgical mask can be inserted this way. So that's a different option, but it's just as easy to make. Now I want to attach the elastics. What I like to do, and it's just my personal preference, is I like to sew the elastic ends right to the corners of this lining. So I have one already sewn here. I'm gonna I just stitch it, like just a little stay stitch, just so I don't have to worry about it coming undone or trying to pin this tiny elastic to the material. All right, so now that we have our material with our little elastics kind of, stay stitched in there, we're going to take our layer that's going to be the front of our mask. We're going to turn it over so the good side, the right side, is facing the side with the elastics. Okay. You can pin the top like I have here and then sew down the sides and across the bottom and the top. I would use a 3/8 inch seam allowance. That'll allow for your pocket to be long enough and wide enough to hopefully insert the surgical mask. Okay, so now I've sewn the front to the back, and our elastics are along the sides, sewn in there. Before we turn it inside out, we have to add to the top the nose crimp, which is basically the pipe cleaner. So take, if you haven't already, or you have something available to, just turn in the end of the pipe cleaner so it doesn't poke out and poke your fabric or anything. So what I like to do is take about 3 pins and just pin it to the seam allowance, which is the area between the thread and the raw edge. This way, when you turn it inside out and then you make your final stitch around the whole mask, this is going to be pretty secure within your top seam. Okay, we're going to move on to sewing this with a zigzag stitch. So this is a regular stitch on my machine. This is the zigzag stitch. You all have different machines, different indicators, but I'm just showing you that I switched it. Right over your pipe cleaner and a zigzag. And sometimes it gets a little there. And that really is just so that it secures it so it won't move. So we sewed our pipe cleaner in the top of our seam allowance. And when it's turned inside out, you're not going to see the pipe cleaner, and it's going to be tucked away quite nicely. So we're going to turn our mask in right side in now through the pocket opening. You pull out a very interesting way to get these little corners to pop out nicely is if you want to use something like a chopstick. I know there are tools they sell at fabric stores for this, but I don't have one, so I just use a regular chopstick. So this is the top of our mask. It's got the pipe cleaner in it for the nose pinch. And the last thing we really need to do is put in our pleats. So I just take, I just make a little pleat, maybe between 1/4 and 1/2 inch, depending on how big you want your mask. If you do a smaller pleat, you'll have a little more space in there to maybe put a surgical mask in, one of the filter material that's a little bigger. Yale, New Haven uses the surgical masks that are 3.5 wide by almost 7 inches long. So you just quickly, and then you're just going to sew around. Once you get these pinned, you're just going to sew around one more time the edges, as close, or as if you want more room in there, you would go closer to the seam. And this up here is the pipe cleaner, so you just make sure you're got the pipe cleaner between the end seam and your stitching. So now we've made our final stitching around, and really this is mostly just to keep the ragged edges inside from fraying too much more, and it's a little decorative. But I've only done 3 pleats in this, or at 1, 2, so 2 pleats. But you can do, an extra pleat if your face is smaller and you need it to cover more, less space around, to close tighter. So that's really up to you. This mask's pocket measures 3.5 inches by 7 inches, so it could fit a surgical mask.